Hey, Mama friends, and welcome to the All You Mama interviews, where we bring experts in their field directly to you. I am Megan Q. Barrett of allyouMama.com, and I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do know people that do. And our first expert that we have coming on today is Meredith Whitney. And Meredith is a pre and postnatal corrective exercise specialist and diastasis and core consultant. Basically, she helps women stay fit throughout all stages of life: pregnancy, birth, postpartum, motherhood, and beyond. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to see you in sort of real person, but not really.
Kind of. I'm super excited to see you too. And I'm so excited to learn more about the bump protocol and what you're doing to help women. I have quite a few questions of my own, as well as some questions from some mamas in All You Mama. So I'm just going to hop right in it and tell me a little bit more about what you do with the bump protocol and what made you create it.
So I was joking around with one of the other coaches because I was looking at your questions this morning, and I giggled because I actually created this one evening after having an awesome conversation with my business coach and a bottle of rosé. And I just started drinking, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to start this program. And I finished a bottle, and in 2 or 3 hours, I had everything set out. The program started when I started taking on more of a full-time role at 7 Mile. And the clients that I was bringing on were either postpartum or newly pregnant and had not told anyone. And my interest grew really quickly with, what to do with pregnant females, what to do in terms of recovery with postpartum females coming back to the gym and learning all these functional movements. And it sort of spiraled from there that, I'm quite interested in this field. So I jumped into a specialty course and sort of started from that. And when I was close to finishing the specialty course, that's when I started getting some ideas about what I really wanted to offer at the gym. And it ended up being a small group program for either females who were planning on conceiving or currently pregnant, or females who had just given birth or were in their 4th trimester at some point and trying to figure out how to get back into fitness. And the program that I run is something that females can do continuously throughout their pregnancy and postpartum. There's no waiting period. There are things that we would keep an eye on if there were any things that a doctor may have suggested, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, but all the movements and the breathing patterns would be safe leading right up until you give birth and day 1 postpartum.
Awesome. Okay, so I have to say, so I have a 3.5-year-old and 1.5-year-old, and I feel like the information has changed so much, even from having my 3.5-year-old, where there's so much conflicting advice. Like, I had one midwife tell me I couldn't CrossFit at 12 weeks. And then the next time I go in at 16 weeks, they're like, oh no, you can CrossFit. You've been doing that. So how are you kind of that bridge between it? How do women know what they should and shouldn't do?
So it's a really good question. I actually try to stay away from what you should and shouldn't do, because each female is completely unique in their self, in their experiences, and how fit they are and what they do in their regular day. So what I do is I try to actually bridge that gap between someone who is pregnant and their doctor saying, you should start working on pelvic floor exercises, or, you need to start walking, versus a CrossFit athlete or someone who does F45 or Orange Theory. I bridge that gap so that they come into my class. You're doing breath work, which is the utmost important. We're focusing on pelvic floor exercises. And then that gap sort of comes in between the strength training and your endurance or interval training, where, you know, someone might be able to do a squat with weight, whereas someone is just learning that squat. So I take a very individualistic approach where I have a workout set for them, and I have progressions of different challenges for each person, depending on where they are in their fitness.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it because I mean, I had come from basically being a competitive athlete, you know, off of that to becoming pregnant. And I felt so lost. Like I don't even think I really heard about coning
Mm-hmm.
until maybe like I almost gave birth. So
Yeah.
can you kind of explain like coning and how, like, what is the reasoning behind that?
Sure. So, you know, coning can happen to people who aren't pregnant as well. It can happen to males as well. But generally, what you have is in the front of your body, you've got this long line called your linea alba, and on either side is your abdominal muscles called your rectus abdominis. And those can sometimes become more dominant when our other muscles aren't working in synchrony or not working properly. And so generally what you'll see is, and you know, in CrossFit, like we brace a lot when we're trying to do a heavy lift. And you'll see with these pregnant females that they're trying to brace to protect themselves to do certain movements. So that bracing over time is going to put a lot of pressure on your abdomen. There's what's the word I'm looking for? There's an offset pressure in your abdomen that places pressure on that linea alba and the rectus, and it sort of starts to stretch, and then you're sort of pressing it out. So you can see that a really simple way to test that out is if you were about to do a sit-up, and all you want to do is just sort of crunch your shoulders and your head towards that sit-up position, and then you can see a little bit of coning sometimes. So we do try to prevent that in my class. And we also try to get your internal abdominal muscles, like your transverse abdominis and oblique, sort of working in synchrony. So that doesn't happen, so that your front ab muscles don't take over and your inner core is actually working properly.
Awesome. That is like the best explanation I've heard. I just heard like, don't do anything that makes coning.
Yeah, and so that's and again, like I really do try to stay away from the do's and don'ts, and I want people to feel confident and empowered that they can still do something that they love. I have a client who has been training her butt off to be in the CrossFit Games, and she found out during this training that she was pregnant, and so we pivoted really, really quickly. And I can see her having this internal fight with herself and that competitiveness and that ego and that, you know, I want to do kipping pull-ups and I still want to do sit-ups. So we've made minor adjustments so that she can slowly progress into something that is, that allows her to be more aware of her body and have a positive experience without just saying, okay, you can't do sit-ups anymore. You can't do toes to bar anymore. So it's been a really eye-opening journey for myself, and I know for her too, because she has to set her ego aside, but she's learning a lot in this journey as well.
I feel that on many levels. Okay, so I'm going to pivot a little bit away from the pregnancy and go more postpartum motherhood. Yep. I got this question from ranges in mamas, like from ones that have 3-year-old all the way up to like 15 years old. And it was a question on like, what is there and what can you do for your pelvic floor and your core when you're that far postpartum?
That's a really good question. And I personally believe that there is no wrong time to get started on pelvic floor work. If it's something that you missed out on when you were pregnant, or even if you're a regular gym goer without a child like myself, it's something that you can slowly bring into your practice and daily practice. It's something that I get a lot of my clients at the gym to just do 5 minutes a day. So very simple breathing exercises that, again, focus on that inner core. So we've got this inner core. So we've got our diaphragm, which is our major breathing muscle. We've got our pelvic floor. So diaphragm up here, pelvic floor down there. And then we've got our abdominal muscles that sort of fill that canister. And we're working on that canister for abdominal pressure and fluid breathing. And so that's the first thing that I would say to these mamas to start working on, is just diaphragmatic breathing, core control breath. So a little bit more active breath where you have a nice relaxed inhale, and then that exhale, you sort of try to gather that abdomen together, almost like someone's tying a scarf around you. That would be the first step that I would suggest to them. And then slowly adding some really simple pelvic floor exercises in. So imagine that you need to stop yourself from peeing or pooing, and then that gentle squeeze, and then a gentle release. And those gentle squeeze and release exercises that you do for maybe a minute a day, if that, will start to make you a little bit more aware of what's going on down there. And that helps a lot.
Awesome. And then, so do you do this like in your small groups too? You work on these breathing exercises and everything too?
Yes, we do. So the first 5 to 15 minutes of our class is focused on breath work and minor movements with breath work, as well as pelvic floor specific exercises.
And then for those that don't know, I probably should have said this too. Meredith is located in Grand Cayman. So for those listening that probably don't have access directly to you, do you have like some resources for them to check out too?
Yes, absolutely. So I do offer online personal training as well. The course that I did my certification through is called Fit for Birth. And if you Google Fit for Birth, you can actually go onto their website, and they have a coach located all across the world. So you're able to sort of connect with these coaches all across the world. And there may even be one in a certain location that you're looking for that have similar training that, they may not have the same background as me. They may be a Pilates instructor, a yoga instructor, a chiro or physio, lots of different backgrounds with that specific pelvic floor training. The other thing that all these mamas can look into is looking for a women's health physiotherapist or practitioner, specifically in your area. There is a lot of women's health practitioners that I've been following on Instagram that put out great content. But if you are someone who has maybe practiced pelvic floor work, or you don't really know where to start, to get into a pelvic floor specialist would be my first piece of advice, because they can do internal exams as well. And so if you don't know what's happening on the outside, they may be able to tell you what's going on the inside and sort of guide you that way too.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know after I had my first son, I think I waited till like 7 or 8 months postpartum, but I was like, I want to like make sure that I'm doing this right too. So just having someone to like check that. And then I went a few times and got some exercises and was kind of like able to do it on my own, but just making sure that you're doing it correctly.
Yes. And so I have a couple of friends down here that were in similar situations as you, where a late start to some pelvic floor exercises as well. And again, there's no time than the present to start practicing this stuff. So if you're one of those people that sort of hasn't started and scared to start, go online, find some really good resources, someone in your area to help you, and just keep going with it. Because sometimes it's just a matter of telling your brain, okay, I'm going to squeeze here, I'm going to relax. Even if you don't feel anything, that brain is making some sort of muscular connection for you too.
Awesome. I bet there's a bunch of women watching this right now that just started their pelvic floor exercises too while they're watching this.
We can do them sitting chatting right now. Just a little squeeze and release.
I know. I'm like, I feel like I should be doing it right now.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's something that I read. I was speaking with one of the physiotherapists who helps me in my programs. We actually chatted about it last week with the ladies, is that even if you think that you're doing all of the right things, over time, as we age, whether we have kids or not, things might not sit like they used to. So it's really important to keep practicing the strengthening and relaxation of your pelvic floor as well, because some people are overactive and other people are underactive. So we need to find that happy medium.
Yes. Awesome. That is great advice. Okay, so here's another question that I got
Sure.
from another range of mamas. It was how should you approach getting back into working out? And I got this from, I believe there was a running, a CrossFit, and then a yoga in there too. So we got a whole range of workouts.
Okay, that is a really good question and a very important one as well. And you want to make sure that whatever you do, you feel comfortable with the movements in your own body. So the way that my program runs for postpartum specifically is you can have your baby and the next day you can get into my classes so long as you feel comfortable. Without doctor's approval, I do really like having the doctors on board. I think that's really important that they understand the exercise program, that it's not just going back into heavy lifting or running, that there's some sort of progressive building of your muscles. But again, the first thing that I would say to these ladies, wherever they are, whether it's yoga, Pilates, CrossFit, running, swimming, is that you make sure that you are getting some core control, some abdominal control, and you're synchronizing that with your pelvic floor work. So actually what I'll do is I'll send you my YouTube clip of my breathing exercises so that you can share it with whomever you want, so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But gentle movements with fluid breath, like bending over or hinging. For instance, like say you're bending over to pick something off of the floor, just knowing that maybe an inhale down and an exhale up sort of keeps you safer in movements. But I'm a true believer that you shouldn't be waiting until your doctor clears you at 4, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it is. There needs to be something that you're doing at home. There's lots of things that you can do at home that sort of build that tolerance and put you in a more optimal position to returning to whatever it is that you'd like to do.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know, not misnomer, I don't know what the word is, but that like you're just supposed to sit there for like 6 weeks until your doctor says, okay, you can go. And then it's also kind of like, okay, I can go do what then? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I'm not going to go in the gym and start back squatting the weight I was squatting.
No, because your organs might fall out of
exactly.
you.
So it's like, you just don't have like a lot of direction that it's like, okay, I go from like, okay, do nothing to go ahead.
Yeah.
So I
And
love that you do have some guidance on building that up.
And that's where someone like a pre and postnatal exercise specialist like myself comes in handy, or someone that you trust that can help guide you. There are people that can get back into their regular routine earlier and feel good about it with no obstacles, but not everyone is like that. So it is nice to be able to have some sort of transition period, whether it is, postpartum to 6 weeks, or maybe it's someone who's been a year postpartum and is now ready to go back in to do strength training or yoga or Pilates or whatever. You can't just jump back into it. If you have a knee surgery or a shoulder surgery, the last thing that the physiotherapist or doctor recommends is for you to say, okay, you just had your surgery, you've got your 2-week clearance, go have fun. Let's do some pull-ups and push-ups. Yeah. They're not going to tell you that. You'll probably have physio, you'll probably have a bunch of bands at home and all of these exercises to do. And so that's how I treat postpartum, is that this is your gentle way of getting back to do what you love safely and efficiently.
Awesome. I love that. Gentle way to get back to what you love safely.
I need to keep
that's good. You need to write that one down. That is good.
I need to do that.
Okay. So I had posted about this on my Instagram and I got so many women that were like mind blown, which mine is too, because I need you to tell me about this tailoring your workouts around your menstrual cycle and like what that is, what it looks like. I am beyond interested.
So I am brand new to this and by no means an expert. And I'm sure you've heard the book Beyond the Pill by Dr. Brighton. So that one I'm actually just reading now. It wasn't my first book, but I now have it in my room reading it. The book that I'm talking about and I'm not promoting this book for a paid advertisement or anything. This is like true interest here. It's called In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti, and it's just a really eye-opening book. I have a list of people who want to borrow this, but they don't know that they're never going to get my copy, that I'll probably just order them a copy themselves.
I do the same thing. I keep books and I'm like, here, I'm just going to buy you one.
Yeah, I don't want to let it go. Now she has a lot of things online that you can purchase, but the book was just enough for me to get started. And so the reason why I got started was when we got back into the gym in July, I was doing all this high intensity work and I was feeling great, right? My hormones were high, was having fun, no more at-home workouts. And then in September, when everything regulated, I just started getting really tired, and I was tired of just go, workout. So I switched my programming to a strength training program. But during that time, I had quite a few of my female clients who either messaged me to say they wouldn't be in the gym for a week, or said that they didn't want to do the certain week workout that had been programmed for them. And it took a couple weeks for me to figure out what was going on. And then I have these females saying, oh, I was on my period. I didn't want to come into the gym. I was feeling really tired. Or, yeah, I just didn't really want to do the running workout because I was on my period. I sort of just wanted to do yoga or something. I said, okay, let's start talking about this. Let's figure out what's going to work best for you. So we started to slow things down closer to their period, and they were in the gym more consistently. So the book comes into my life a couple months ago. I start reading it, and essentially it just breaks down your period. So the first thing that is, sorry, dogs.
It's all good.
Wild. The first thing that it talks about is that you have two cycles that are happening in your female body: the circadian rhythm and then the infradian rhythm. We don't really talk about our female cycle and how we should be using that. We should be using that for us. So this book sort of breaks down the 4 pieces of your cycle and when you should be doing more higher intensity workouts versus thinking about strength training, or stretching, walking. And it doesn't specifically talk about CrossFit or F45 or Orange Theory, but it sort of gives you an idea of what you should be looking at. So in the last month, I followed along the book. I followed along a little bit of the nutrition guidelines, sort of what types of meats to eat when, what types of vegetables to eat when, so I'm getting my micronutrients. And I've been pretty level for the past couple of months and weeks doing this. So it's really cool. I highly recommend the book. I actually just finished my menses, so I am back to higher intensity workouts. But the past 2 weeks, I've just been doing strength training, really low intensity, and it's been great.
That's awesome. I feel like I naturally do that even with the workouts, like that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do it, but it's going to be like, I'm just here today. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's like the 5 days of my period. It's like, I'm here today. I need to do something, but I'm by no means like PRing or like going all out.
Yeah. But I think that if we sit down and look at that type of stuff and really become more aware of what's happening with our bodies, we realize this is why I don't feel like, PRing today, or maybe that's why you didn't PR one day in a back squat, it's, it potentially could be because of the different variety of hormone levels in your body, and your body saying, no, now it's time to just relax and have a little bit of fun. And next week, energy's high. Okay, let's hit this PR.
I love that. I'm definitely going to have to look into that more.
Yes, you should. It's like I said, it's been really eye-opening. I can't talk enough good things about the book.
Very cool.
I'm not even halfway through either.
Well, we'll have to talk again once you get it all in there too. All right, so we're going to start closing up, and I'm going to ask this question to all my experts. And what is one piece of advice you've received that changed you or your life?
So I've been thinking about this, and the first thing that came to mind, which would just really solidified what I'm doing now, is to take risks. and to just run with it. So if you have an idea or something that you're truly passionate about and you're humming and hawing, sometimes you just need to jump over that fence and see what happens.
Sometimes you just need to drink that bottle of rosé and
know,
go
right?
for it, right? I know. I love that. That's one of the things I say all the time to the all you mamas is that I'm like, any action is better than no action, right?
Absolutely.
You could be doing the wrong thing, but you are still moving forward. And that is way more important than staying stagnant.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that, Megan. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love this and I love chatting with you.
Yeah, same with you.
I had a great time. If you guys want to check out Meredith, check her out. It's at the Bump Protocol on Instagram. Anywhere else you want them to check you out?
No, that has everything. It links to a Google form if they want to be on my mailing list. I don't email a lot, but just some important things.
Cool.
Instagram is the big one.
Awesome. I will link the Instagram too, so you guys can check it out. But once again, it's the Bump Protocol. And thank you so much, Meredith.
Thanks
had a
for
great
having
time.
me.
And all you mamas, have a great day free of mama guilt. You deserve it.